All right, now that we've explored how we can extract one or more characters from a string, we can talk about how to overwrite one or more characters in a string. Strings in Ruby are mutable, which means that their characters can be modified. This is not true in all programming languages. Let's have a variable here called thing, and I'm going to assign it to a string of rocket ship. All right, so we know at this point how we can extract a single character. We use the square brackets and give it our index position. So for example, if I do thing 0, that's the very first letter, that's an R at the beginning. The simplest way that we can do this is simply to take that syntax to reference that character, and then put an equal sign, and then just write a new character. So if I wanted to replace the R with a P, I would do something like this. Now if I output thing, we can see that it's pocket ship instead of rocket ship. In fact, let me go ahead and do a before and after. And there you can see what happens when we swap out one of the characters. Let's show you another example. Let's say I now want to change the O in the very beginning in the first word. That is in the second position, so it's going to have an index position of 1. So I'm going to do thing 1. That is going to be this character right here. Then let's say I want to reassign it from O to A. Once again, I use the equal sign. Here's my new character A. And now if I output thing, I have packet ship. All right, let's do another example. If I take the 9th character, or rather the 10th character, the character with an index position of 9 is to be more exact. And if I overwrite that with the letter O, we now have packet shop. All right, now let's clear the output and take a look at how we can overwrite multiple elements using that syntax I showed you with 2 arguments within the square brackets. All right, so let's pull this stuff out and begin anew. I'm going to begin by declaring a variable called fact. I'll assign it equal to a string of I love blueberry pie. Let's say I want to change this to I love raspberry pie. Well, first of all, I have to extract this little sequence right here. Okay, so I can simply play around. Let's say I do fact 5, that's an E, fact 6, that's a space, fact 7, and there is the beginning of blueberry, index position 7. And I know that I want the first 4 characters, or rather 4 characters from index position 7, which is the first 4 characters of that word. And there I have blue. I've pulled that sequence out. I'm now going to remove my P here and simply use the equal sign here and assign a new string here of rasp. So now if I output fact before and after, the first result is going to be I love blueberry pie. Then we've overwritten it, and it now says I love raspberry pie. What was I thinking? I love raspberry pie, all right? We can also overwrite sequential elements with the range syntax. So let's say I want to change it back to blue now. What I can do is do fact 7, but now instead of writing the comma and putting in the number of characters, I can simply put in the double dots. Remember, that's the range sequence. Here I'm going to put the end, which is index position 10, and it's inclusive, so that means characters 7, 8, 9, and 10, which currently is rasp. And if I replace this with the string blue and output fact again, you can see we've gone back to I love blueberry pie. In fact, the string that we substitute does not actually have to be the same length as the total number of characters that we're extracting. So for example, let's say I pull out the second word here, which is love. So I know L begins at the second index position, so there's the L from love, and I'm going to use range syntax to pull out love. There it is. 2, 3, 4, 5 are my index positions for the characters L-O-V-E. And let's say I want to replace this with absolutely adore. Obviously, there's a lot more characters in absolutely adore than there are in love. But when I execute this, actually, let me just get rid of the P in front of that statement. Here you can see I've replaced the love with I absolutely adore blueberry pie. It's simply taken those 4 characters and swapped them with whatever string I gave it. And I'm sure it would work in reverse. If I simply wanted to put in less characters, the same thing would apply. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to how we can overwrite characters in a string. We obviously first have to reference those characters. We can use any of the syntaxes that I've showed you so far, a regular square bracket for one character, a square bracket with the 2 arguments separated by a comma to pull out a certain number of characters from a starting index position. You can use a range object with either 2 dots or 3 dots to specify a starting index position and then an ending index position. And finally, you have to include that equal sign and simply provide the new string that you want to substitute in place of what it is that you're replacing. That's how you mutate or change the characters in a string.